Hello everyone, welcome to the editorial analysis brought to you by Shankar IAS Academy, 15th April 2025. Displayed here are the list of topics that we'll be discussing today. The first article, Role of Parliament in President Rule. The article is taken from Indian Express. We know that recently the Parliament ratified the President Rule in the state of Manipur, and in this background we will be discussing the role of Parliament in the President Rule and what are the challenges in the Manipur. And the next article, Transforming India's Research into Global Innovation. And this article is taken from the newspaper Business Line, and we know that recently Dr. Shivakumar Kalyanaraman, he appointed as a full-time CEO of the Anusudan National Research Foundation. And in this background, we will be discussing what are the challenges in India's research and development ecosystem and what can be done. And we will also discuss a role model from the Germany. And without much delay, let's begin our discussion. Before getting into the discussion, there is an important announcement from Shankar IAS Academy. Shankar IAS Academy's All India UPSC Prelims mock test will be held in the following days. The first test will be on 4th May 2025, and the second test will be on 11th May 2025, and the third test will be on 18th May 2025. And the timings are also mentioned here. The general studies will be taking place between 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and the CSAT will be between 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. So the link for the registration will be available in the website. Do register and attend the test. Now we will begin our discussion with the first article. In Parliament, Manipur is let down again. The article is taken from Indian Express. Why we are discussing this article today? Because recently Lok Sabha ratified President Rule in the state of Manipur because of the ongoing ethnic violence and governance breakdown. We know that the Manipur violence started in the year 2023 and it is going to be almost 3 years. And in this background, we are going to see what is the role of Parliament in President Rule. And coming to the UPSC relevance of this topic, you can expect questions related to this topic under the GS2, under the topic issues and challenges pertaining to the federal structure and Parliament and its functions. So without much delay, let's begin our discussion. So what is President Rule? President Rule is simply, we can say that it is an imposition of the central rule in a state. So if you look into the Indian Constitution, we have the part 18 of the Indian Constitution, which talks about the emergency provisions. Article 352 talks about the national emergency. Article 356 talks about the state emergency or the President Rule. And Article 360 talks about the financial emergency. We know that Article 352 can be implemented in whole India or in any part of India. And Article 356 talks about the President Rule. So if you look into the Constitution, you cannot find a word called emergency in the under the Article 356 of the Indian Constitution. So it is known as President Rule. It is popularly known as President Rule because the President will exercise the control over the state through governor. So coming to the, it can be imposed under Article 356 of the Indian Constitution in case of failure of the constitutional machinery of a state. That means if the state in India cannot act according to the provisions of the Constitution, then the President Rule can be implemented under Article 356 of the Indian Constitution. And then we have Article 365 if the state is compliance with the center's direction. That means if the state is deliberately going against the center's direction, in this case also the President Rule can be implemented in a state under the Article 365. And what happens? So once the President Rule is implemented, the President will take over the control of the state through governor. And in this case, the assembly, the state legislative assembly can be suspended or dissolved. So followed by the S.R. Bomme judgment of the 1994, until the approval given by the two houses of the Indian Parliament, the state assembly cannot be dissolved as per the S.R. Bomme case of 1994, but it can be suspended. And once if the approval is failed, that means if the two houses failed to give the approval, then the state legislative assembly will be reactivated. So as per the S.R. Bomme case 1994. So please note this case, S.R. Bomme case 1994. It is must, you have to note this case in the UPSC mains when you are writing an answer related to the question of President Rule or the emergency. So coming to the Parliament role in President Rule, so Parliament will provide approval. Right, the President will proclaim the emergency in a state, and the Parliament, the two houses of the Parliament, has to provide approval within 2 months. What if the Lok Sabha is dissolved, or if the Lok Sabha is not active in this time? Then the proclamation will survive 30 more days since the first sitting of the Lok Sabha. That means within the first sitting, within the 30 days of the first sitting, the Lok Sabha has to approve the President Rule in the state. And the President Rule extension, coming to the extension, the President Rule, the maximum extension of the President Rule in a state cannot be more than 3 years, and that too every 6 months the both houses of the Parliament has to give approval for the further extension of the extension of the constitutional emergency in a state. And here also you have to note that as per the 44th amendment of the 1978, there are two conditions for the extension of president rule in a state. First, there should be an operational national emergency in whole India or in any part of India. And the second condition is that the Election Commission of India has to they have to certify that the state is not in a position to carry out the functions as per the provisions of the constitution, or the state is not in a position to to conduct a general election. So in such case, the president rule can be extended in the state, and that cannot be more than 3 years. And the present rule can be passed by a simple majority. Please note this. And what happens? We know that the parliament will take control of the state legislature. Therefore, the parliament will pass the state bills and the budgets, and parliament will also responsible for ensuring executive accountability and the democratic oversight in the state until the state comes to the normal. So coming to the challenges in Manipur. So what are the challenges in Manipur? First is the ethnic violence broke out in the year 2023 May. So it is like I mentioned beginning, it is almost going to be 3 years, and still we are not in a we cannot bring a common ground of peace in Manipur. And the second is uncovered arms and armed dominance. So once an instability happened, especially in a highly sensitive area like northeast of India, you can see that the different groups started coming to the conflict, and therefore we have uncovered arms in the state of Manipur because it is controlled by different organizations or different communities. And the next is poor coordination between the force. That means the poor coordination between the state police of Manipur and the Assam Rifles. So this is also made the situation more vulnerable in Manipur. And the next is displacement crisis. That means especially the Kuki-Zo community, they are displaced on a large scale and they are lacking identities and shelter. And the next is stalled infrastructure because of this ongoing violence. For example, this trilateral India-Myanmar Thailand highway. So you can see in this picture the India-Myanmar Thailand highway. So it is aiming to connect the state of Manipur with the Myanmar and Thailand. And this infrastructure has been stalled because of this ongoing violence in the state of Manipur. And the next is public distrust in law and order machinery. We know that it's been almost 3 years and still the government is not able to bring a peace in the state of Manipur. Therefore, the people in Manipur also lost their faith in the law and the order machinery, and that will make the situation even more vulnerable for a government to control the situation and bring peace in the state. So what is a way forward? So first is community trust building and interfaith dialogue. So you have to bring an open dialogue between the communities in the conflict. The second is rehabilitation. Like I mentioned, the people affected because of this violence, they are lacking identity card, shelter, proper access to health and other basic facilities. So we have to address the rehabilitation of the people affected due to this conflict, especially their homes, schools, worship places and all. And the next is disarmament of the non-state actors. That means this is a first step we have to take, because it is one of the reasons why still we cannot control the violence in the Myanmar. Different communities or different groups have their own weapons. They have armed, they have weapons, and it will make the condition more difficult for the state police or the Assam Rifles to control. And the next is promoting local leadership. That means engagement with the local leadership is very important, because we know that the communities will always listen to their local leaders. So we have to open a talk with the local leaders, so we can exchange the views and we can exchange the differences. So thus we can pave a way for peace in the state of Manipur. And the next is address budgetary imbalance. Addressing the budgetary imbalance between the Impal Valley and the hill district. So Impal Valley, it is mainly inhabited by the Meitei community, and the hill districts are mainly inhabited by Kuki-Zo community. So we have to address the budget imbalance between these two communities. So therefore we can reduce the ethnic tension to some extent. And the next is ensuring regular parliamentary oversight. So this is very important to ensure the stability of the state in the coming days. So these are the way forward. And coming to the mains question, the mains practice question, the question is, what role does the parliament play in the imposition and functioning of president's rule under Article 356, examine in the context of the ongoing situation in the Manipur, and it is a 10 marks question and you have to write around 150 words. Write the answer, post it in the comment section. So in this video we discuss, in this topic we discussed what is the role of parliament in the president rule imposition, and what happens once the president rule is imposed in a state, and then we discuss what are the challenges faced by the president rule in the state of Manipur, and then we discussed a way forward. So with this hints, try to answer a mains practice question, try to answer this mains practice question, post it in the comment section. We will review and we will reply for your answer. Now it's time to move to the next article. Transforming India's research into global innovations. The article is taken from Business Line. Why we are discussing this article today? Because recently Dr. Shivakumar Kalyanaraman has been appointed as the first full-time CEO of Anushasan National Research Foundation. Through this, India is aiming to enhance India's research, innovation and global competitiveness. So let us discuss more about this article, and before that we have to understand about the mains relevance of this topic. In mains GS paper 3, you can expect questions related to the economic development, growth and research under the following topics. So let's begin the discussion. So first we are going to see about this Anushasan National Research Foundation. It is established under a Parliamentary Act of 2023, and the objective of this foundation is to promote strategic research, innovation and entrepreneurship. And we know that simply we can see the role itself is bridging the gap between the academic discoveries and the industrial needs. And what are the focus area of the foundation? The focus areas are the following, that is natural sciences, applied research and industry, promoting a strong industry academia link. And coming to the funding, you can see that the funding is based on peer review. That means the scientists or the researchers from the relevant field will examine the project and then they will allocate the fund. And coming to the challenges in India's research and development ecosystem, first is low R&D spending, that is research and development spending. The first is the reason. That is currently India spending only 0.7% of the GDP, and it is very less comparing with the global average. That is, in global level, the advanced nations are spending around 2 to 4% of their total GDP. For example, South Korea, they are spending around 4% of their total GDP for research and development alone. And the next is weak applied research and commercialization. For example, still the research is in India is based on government funding, and we have to change that. We have to strongly engage the private partnerships. For example, if you look in the Germany, you can see that Fraunhofer Society, and they have they are an industry research foundation. They have a very strong link with the industrialist. So that will provide them more funding and more support for research and development. And the next is limited private partnership, like I mentioned, and the lack of small and medium enterprises engagement. In India we have the Mudra scheme for promoting the small and medium enterprises, but we need to enhance them through strong engagement with the industrialist. And the next is skill gap, especially in the field of artificial intelligence, robotics. And India, we have a very good a strong working population, but still we are lacking proficiency in the field like artificial intelligence and robotics. And the next is infrastructure gap between or within the nations, and bureaucratic delays are also a challenge for India's research and development ecosystem. So coming to the importance of the core technologies, we know that the technologies will decide the fate of the nation in the coming centuries, and it is a foundation for strong economic and industrial growth. And in India, it is a high time, because we know that we have a very strong service sector. But in coming to the primary sector and coming to the manufacturing sector or in the secondary sector, India is still lagging behind. So we have to address this, and for that we need, the time has changed. So therefore we need a strong investment and engagement in the field of core technologies. For example, in the past, the technologies like lasers, transistors and lithium ion batteries played a very important role in the development of a nation. And recently India tested a laser missile, so that will target the drones and other incomings from other countries. And the next is the present. In the present time, this artificial intelligence, messenger RNA vaccines and CRISPR-Cas9. We know that CRISPR-Cas9, it is used for editing the gene of plants to make them resilient to the climate change. And this plays a very important role in ensuring food security in the coming days because of this accelerated climate change. And messenger RNA vaccines, for example, Pfizer, like that. And that is used for treating the recent COVID-19 as well. And the artificial intelligence, this will decide the fate of the service sector in the coming days. And coming to the future technologies, we need more engagement in semiconductors and optical lithography. Optical lithography is also a technology used in the semiconductor industry. And the semiconductor industry, for example, we might have heard about the fab lines. The Fab Alliance is for semiconductors. So, and that is led by South Korea. And for that, to develop the semiconductor industry and all, we need a strong long-term investment and ecosystem alignment. Then only we can go for semiconductor manufacturing and other key or core technologies. So, coming to the global best practice. So, Germany is a role model for us. In Germany, we have this Fraunhofer Society, and they have nearly 76 institutes and 13,000 plus researchers, and they are a very good example for how to promote a better or best research and development ecosystem in a place. So, for example, they have a very good link with the industries, and therefore the majority of the fund is from the industrial contractors. So, this will enhance the research, and they will also get other supports for enhancing the research and development. And the another example from the Germany is the Mittelstand small and medium enterprises. They are also focused on research and development and manufacturing. And you have to see that in Germany they have a very good relation between the industry, government, and academia. But in India we are lacking that, because still the research, the fund for the research and development is still provided by the government, and sometimes it may not be even sufficient. And you can see that these industries or these societies are getting 70% of their fund from industrial contractors. So here you can see the comparison between the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research in India versus Fraunhofer Society. So coming to the funding, you can see that in India it is mostly for this council, it is mostly provided by the government, while in Germany for the society is mostly provided by the industry. And in India we are focusing on the national development, while the Germany the society is focusing on global competition. And the commercialization, you can see that India we have very limited commercialization, while they have a very good strong industrial linkage. So in this topic we discussed what are the challenges in India's research and development ecosystem, and how the Germany is a role model for India. So coming to the way forward, first we are going to see the reformation in CSIR, that is Council of Scientific and Industrial Research has to reform into a spin-off startup. That means we have to promote entrepreneurship. And the next is shift to focus to patents, not just papers. That means if we have patents over the innovations, then they will provide us more saying over the innovations. And the next is support 100 plus tech focused small and medium enterprises, like in the case of Germany they have a Mittelstand. And the next is expanding vocational and STEM education from 8th grade. So this will provide more opportunity for research and development. They will provide more workforce for the research and development in India. The next is set up core tech industries in IITs and IISCs. And the next is boosting a strong academic industry partnership. And the next is investing more in legacy tech companies for Atmanirbhar Bharat. Legacy tech companies means the companies already established very good projects and moving with very good ideas. We have to support them, and then only we can establish. Then only we can found this Atmanirbhar Bharat. That means self-sufficient India. So based on the topic, let's discuss the mains practice question. The question is, India spends less than 1% of its GDP on research and development. Discuss the role of Anusadan National Research Foundation in addressing structural challenges in India's research and development landscape. Suggest measures to improve industry academy linkage for core technology innovation. And this is a 10 marks question, and you have to write around 150 words. Write the answer from our discussion and post it in the comment section. We will review and we will reply for your answer. So with this, we are coming to the conclusion for today's editorial analysis. If you like the video, hit the like button, give your feedbacks as comments, and share this content with your friends. And before leaving this channel, don't forget to subscribe and also hit the bell icon to receive on-time update from Shankar IAS Academy. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for listening to me. Have a nice day.